It was clear during Trump's portion of the town hall that he didn't think through very many of his policy ideas. But it was definitely more glaring when the issue of foreign policy came up and he was questioned about nuclear weapons. Take a look.
Your most controversial suggestion was don't take nuclear weapons. I mean, you may have been hooked into this by a press question.
Don't take what?
Nuclear weapons off the table. I have been trying to think how we could conceivably use a nuclear weapon in the Middle East or in Europe in fighting ISIS. Where can you, and why put it on the table or leave it on the table if you can't imagine where to use it?
I didn't say don't take it. I said I would be very, very slow and hesitant.
Well, why wouldn't you just say I don't want to talk about it? I don't want to talk about nuclear weapons. Presidents don't talk about use of nuclear weapons.
The question was asked. We're talking about NATO, which, by the way, I say is obsolete.
But you got hooked into something you shouldn't have talked about.
I think, well, someday maybe.
Maybe?
Of course. If somebody
where would we drop a nuclear weapon in the Middle East?
Let me explain. Somebody hits us with a nuke.
ISIS.
You wouldn't fight back with a nuke?
No, to drop a nuclear weapon into a community of people
but you can't say. First of all, you don't want to say take everything off the table because you're a bad negotiator if you do that.
Just nuclear.
Look, nuclear should be off the table. But would there be a time when it could be used? Possibly.
Okay, the trouble is when you said that, the whole world heard. David Cameron in Britain heard it. The Japanese, where we bombed them in 45, heard it. They're hearing a guy running for president of the United States talking of maybe using nuclear weapons. Nobody wants to hear that about an American president.
Why are we making them? Why do we make them? We have
because of the old mutual assured destruction which Reagan hated
and
tried to get rid of.
I was against Iraq. I'd be the last one to use the nuclear weapons.
So can you take it off the table
now? That's sort of like the end of the ballgame.
Can you tell the Middle East we're not using a nuclear weapon on anybody?
I would never say that. I would never take any of my cards off the table.
How about Europe? We won't use it in Europe.
I'm not going to take it off the table.
You might use it in Europe?
No, I don't think so. But I'm not
just say it. I'll never use a nuclear weapon in Europe.
I am not taking cards off the table. I'm not going to use nukes, but I'm not taking any cards off the table.
The trouble is
but I'm not taking it off the table.
I mean,
it's off the table.
You guys just saw it for yourselves. Nuclear weapons shouldn't be off the table. I would take nuclear weapons off the table, but they shouldn't be off the table. So in that,
I'm not going to nuke them. But maybe I'll nuke them.
So in that short video, you see all these inconsistencies. It's so clear that he hasn't really thought through any of this. To say that you would consider nuclear weapons in the Middle East is a disaster. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Okay.
There were at least like 2, maybe 3 distinct Donald Trumps there, and I hated all of them. They all sucked. But Chris Matthews doing a good job there.
Exactly. Chris Matthews did do a very good job.
You can't nuke Europe.
Look,
nuke Europe. If ISIS somehow smuggled in nuclear material and set off a dirty bomb in New York, that's one of the worst things that's ever happened. We still can't nuke Paris. You don't get to nuke Paris just because they nuke us.
And why wouldn't we nuke Paris? For all the idiots out there who don't understand.
Who the fuck knows?
Right? No, you don't nuke Paris because you don't want innocent civilians to be
I think they said, why would we?
No. Why wouldn't we want to, right? Because you have these conversations and all these people that are sitting at home, shitting in their pants because they're watching Fox News and they're paranoid about Muslims, think, oh my God, we have to go after them. We need to demolish them. It doesn't work that way. It's not so simple. ISIS is very clever in the way that they infiltrate communities of people that are complete innocent civilians. So what do? You just go in there and kill the innocent civilians? You know what happens when we do that, which we have done that with drone strikes? Innocent civilians get very angry, right? They've lost family members, and then all of a sudden, ISIS has a much easier time recruiting people to join them in the fight against the United States and the Western world. That's the way that it works, right? So instead of being so scared and being paranoid about things, just think things through a little bit. Donald Trump would be a nightmare for foreign policy. He hasn't thought it through. He has no idea what he's talking about. And the idea of him using a nuclear weapon scares the hell out of me.